Good evening, everyone, and this is Elson Eldridge Jr. welcoming you to tonight's Summer Institute Teleseminar, during which MGH members can earn 2 continuing education hours for being with us this evening. Tonight's conversation will focus on our convention course with Ron Eslinger. Let's call the course exactly what it is, Pain Management Certification, which Ron is going to discuss with us this evening. And so, absolutely we welcome Ron Eslinger to share information about this topic and also give you some practical ideas that actually can be relevant to your current practice. Ron, good to have you here tonight, sir.
As always, I'm always excited, Elson and Jean, to be with you and all the other people that are out there interested in what we do. Thank you very much.
And before we get into the pain areas, which is so important for people to learn more about, share with us a little bit and the audience, how was it that you got so involved and such an incredible expert on the whole area of helping people with pain? How'd that come about?
Well, it actually started back in the 70s, late 70s, even before the pain clinics got started. I read about a class on hypnosis for certified registered nurse anesthetists, and they gave CE credits, which I needed, so I went to that class and got really hooked on hypnosis. When I got back, I told everybody at my hospital what I did and started working with people, and next thing I knew, I had some docs ask me if I'd work with I had some back pains, and with that, then I decided to open a clinic within weeks, actually. After I got back from a 3-day course, I opened an office. In those days, it wasn't that you could advertise like you can today. Medical profession, which I considered myself, you did not advertise, that wasn't ethical. So it started with that. But what really pushed it was I learned early that if you can help somebody to relax their muscles around their bones, around their nerves, it will help them have at least some control, and to do stretch and to sleep, that they have at least some control over their comfort. And I just did that over and over with people, and I got fairly good at it. But later in my life, actually now we're living from the early 80s until the mid-90s, I was in the Navy now and doing some work, and I ended up at a hospital that the director of the anesthesia clinic also directed the pain clinic. And through a series of me getting there and seeing that they had a pain group that was run by psychologists, and I went to read what they did and saw that one part of it was relaxation. So I just asked the nurse that ran the clinic, hey, can I do the relaxation part? And she was ecstatic, for she hated it, and she said, you sure can. So I started with that. So once every 10 weeks, I'd do that little relaxation. People had already noticed that I talked to my patients different, that my patients did better. All through my entire anesthesia career, my patients went to sleep easy, and they woke up comfortable, and they woke up very, very quickly, got out of the PACU quickly because of post-op pain and post-op nausea. They just did not have it. So I spent those every 10th week I did that until one day the nurse running that particular clinic, and she ran it for a psychologist, came to me and said that psychologist had gotten orders, and the new psychologist coming in did not want to work with that pain clinic. He wanted to have his own pain clinic. She asked me if I would take over, so now every week they want me to work with these pain patients. A lot of them were young enlisted guys, officers, but the biggest part of them are actually the members' families. And so they would come in and I would work with them. I had a lot of veterans that would come to that class. It was a pretty good sized class. So I sat down and saw what they were doing and realized I didn't want to run it that way. They would bring in everybody from other parts of the hospital, such as pharmacy and physical therapy, and I just decided to turn it into a hypnosis class, and that's just what I did. So I was doing that, and then every once in a while they'd ask me if I'd see a client. But what really got me started was they came to me one day, the head of the department came to me and said, we have a Marine Corps colonel who's dying of, literally dying, 2 or 3 days. They expected him to die with pancreatic cancer, was in terrible pain, and what they wanted was to take him off of his opioids so that he could have coherent conversation in his hospice care while he was saying bye to his family. They asked me if I'd see him, and I said, bring him on down, I'll see him. Well, they said he's not here, he's at home. Well, that home was 35 miles from where the hospital was at the beach, and I was told I had to actually go to his place, and I had to go on my time. Well, I wasn't happy about that, because that meant my time. So I drove out, to get there from where I was going, it was basically about a 45 to an hour drive. So the first time that I was going out there, and we didn't have GPS, I'm having to hunt it, and it's at the beach. So I go to the house, I knock on the door, and when that door opened, my heart went into my throat, and I knew it, my whole life flashed in front of my eyes, because I knew at that time my entire military career was over, because the person who opened the door was a 4-star full admiral in the Navy, and it was his son that I was there to see. So the pressure is the pressure. And I'll just be honest with you. For those of you who haven't worked with pain or afraid to work with pain, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I hadn't done anything like that. I was working with just, people in a group at that particular time. So I walk in scared to death, having no idea, and I'm a commander at the time. I'm a nurse anesthetist at Navy Medical Center, Portsmouth. So when I just start talking to him, and I did learn years ago, many years ago in some communication and leadership classes, that if you listen to people and then talk to them about what they talked about, then you'll always be popular. In other words, don't try to run the conversation. So let him talk, and I'd ask him a few questions. Well, what does that feel like? What would be different if you didn't have that? Can you close your eyes and describe to me your favorite vacation place, or what you have found in the past that was the most relaxing place for you? What does comfort feel like to you? What did you feel like a year ago before this started? What kind of activities did you do during that time that you enjoyed doing? So I just asked those kind of questions. Now what I'm doing is taking how he feels and creating 180s. So when he said it was burning, and when it was sharp, and that type, and when it was agonizing, this visceral pain. If you can think of the worst case of gas you've ever had, or somebody that's had appendicitis, what he had was 10 to 100 times worse than that. So even trying to describe it to me while he was on medications was not easy for him to do. So I did what I've always done since and was doing before, but not realizing how I was doing it, was basically taking what he would say to me and having him change it, not to what he had, but to what he was, and say, shut the door to all the memories about this in the past. And I said, you ever eaten a lemon? And he said, yeah. Well, describe to me right now what it was like eating a lemon. And when he started it, all of a sudden he started creating all of these physical and biological responses. His jaw hurt, his mouth watered, he made a face. And I said, your brain thinks you're eating that lemon. And so it's allowing that memory to become a new reality. Every time you think about how bad you hurt yesterday, or how bad you hurt this morning, and how afraid you are of how bad you're going to hurt as it gets worse and worse, all you're doing is perpetuating that lemon experience. So therefore, if you can close your mind to those memories and start remembering all of those good times, those wonderful times, those comfortable times, those times with your family, your kids, your wife, even back to your dad who is here with you today, the things that you did as children that were fun, you may notice some very positive changes that will happen inside your body because your body is made to heal itself. That, he did not die in 3 days. They actually expected 2. I gave him 3. But he had 3 weeks of non-painful experiences with his family. His dad was so grateful, being the admiral. He came to the admiral of the hospital, and from that time on, I walked on water. I got the jobs I wanted. I was put on the medical board of the hospital, the first nurse to ever serve on a medical board of a hospital. I got put into creating a alternative therapy clinic for our hospital, and then actually went to Portsmouth, Oregon, and helped them set up a alternative therapy clinic where hypnosis was their primary aspect for their pain clinic. So just that one thing where I was scared to death but wasn't afraid to do what I needed to do, and then when I came back, I was pulled out of the pain. I still did the pain group, but I was pulled out of the operating room 1 day a week, and I was put in the pain clinic. So for the next 4 years, I saw 8 pain patients every Wednesday. And I only got them, to keep this in mind, I only got to see those pain patients after they'd already been through $100,000 to $150,000 to $200,000 worth of treatment within the pain clinic itself, or even outside pain clinics. So I got them when they were the worst of the worst, and they did so well that even though I didn't qualify to make captain because I didn't have a degree in nursing, they made me a captain of the Navy just because of hypnosis and one other talent I had that nobody else had, and that was I was just good with computers at that time. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a wonderful story.
But retired. And I decided I didn't want to work nights. I didn't want the stress of putting people to sleep. I didn't want to be responsible for them. So when I left the Navy, I had already become, the last 2 years of my Navy career, I was already a certified instructor for the NGH. So I started 2 times a year. I'd take my leave, and I'd have a conference. Now those were good. Right. Those were good classes because I was always stationed at real close to resort, so we didn't resort. So I had a CI class one time, had 68 people in it. I never had less than 30. So I made a lot of money, and I saved all that money, and I used that money to start my own business when I retired. I have never walked into the hospital as a nurse anesthetist since the day that I left the Navy in December of 2003. All I have done full time has been hypnosis and hypnoanesthesia. So I'm open to questions about any of that or anything else you want to ask me about, but I'll try not to talk so long next time. I'll keep it short.
Okay, and while we're on the call, I'm going to ask Gene to share with those who are on the call with us how, as the questions come to you, or comments, here's how those of you who are on the call or on your computer can join in and ask a question when we get to that point. Gene?
Okay, those of you that are on the phone, all you need to do is press *2 on your phone, and that will raise your hand on my screen. I'll be able to bring you in. That's press *2. If you have a question or a comment, those people that are on the internet, there's a box that you can type a question into, and I'll be able to ask Ron those questions.
All right. Ron, you said that there is a part of the brain that we can talk to. Let's expand on that.
The part of the brain is actually a system within the brain. It's made up of multiple glands. And that would be the same part of the brain that when I use the lemon experience that hears that message. It's called the limbic system. In that limbic system, those of you who have seen the video, What in the Bleep We Know, in scenes 9 and 10, they talk about the hypothalamus. It's the regulatory gland of the body. It keeps everything like a thermometer. It keeps everything regulated. And so when we think, as we develop, starting very, very young, we create memories, or we create responses to everything that we experience. So that part of the brain creates a chemical of those memories. So anytime that we have anything that's related to that situation, it will automatically put out those chemicals unless we create new memories, new attitudes to create new chemicals. And so that's why we were taught, my group, my age group, the baby boomers were taught that whatever we experienced by the age of 5, that was in concrete. That would be who we were for the rest of our life, because that was when most of those chemicals for anger, for envy, for lust, for happiness, all of those memories were created then about basically what our attitudes are. So when I'm working with clients, I know I'm working with that part of the brain. And I also know that the biggest problem they have is the memories, because a memory will activate that chemical from when that has happened in the past. That's why we can get addicted to anger, we can get addicted to frustration, we can pick up a tic, we can have pain from memories. So by talking to the first part of that is, to get to that part of the brain, we've got to go through the conscious mind. Now remember, the conscious mind is also the critical factor. So what we say to a client has to go through that filter of the conscious mind. In hypnosis, it moves aside, so it's not adapt to put up a warning, don't listen to this, or don't be gullible to this. But then it goes through another part of the brain, the next gland, which is the amygdala. The amygdala creates fear, and it's for protection. So from there, then it sends that message to the hypothalamus, which regulates everything from how we eat, to how we think, to how we feel, our temperatures of our body. And when it's working well, everything's good. When it's not working well, we got PMS. Politically correct or not, that's what it is. Now, the amygdala to the hypothalamus, then, if it's a fearful situation, it's going to send a chemical over to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is going to send a chemical down to the adrenal gland. So now we're in fight or flight or freeze, and fight or flight is what we're dealing with, because that changes everything in the body. It changes circulation, it changes ability to think, it changes digestion, it changes the amount of insulin, the amount of sugar that we have to have. And it also tightens up the muscles. So if we will think about this, if you can work with stress, you can work with pain. And I know Jerry's on here and he's working with PTSD. Well then, PTSD, what we're dealing with is those memories, so that the body thinks they're reliving, and it brings them back because they're thinking about them in their nightmares. So the body is responding. If they had just went through that tragedy, that accident, that firefight, that fearful situation, the body don't know it's not happening again, so it responds that way. So teaching people how to go to that comfortable place. As a matter of fact, in April, I launched a whole new product, and it's free. It's a free app on, the name of it's My Healthy Affirmation. So what I put on there is about 26, I think, different problems, and you go in and you just record, and we give you a list of affirmations you can say in your voice to yourself. And then after you've recorded that once, it will repeat over and over. Then you go to next, and it gives you about 20 pieces of different music then to put with it. So you can choose your affirmation. Then you can volume up the music and have a subliminal, or volume up the whatever. But the first one of those is free. And I put with it my most popular piece of music, Tranquility. So I have, ever since we've done that, every morning before I come to work, I take 10 minutes, sit down, plug that in my ear, and play that to me. But it's free, so you ought to download it, use it, And it's a good way. We developed it for my clients because when I was done, I was just giving them what I had done for 25, 30 years, is the first every day and every way I'm getting better and better right out of the NGH manual. And that's good, and I still tell them to do that, but I could make it specific for their problem if I gave them an app. So I started recording it, and then I'd take a week to get it back together to give it to them. So I went to a guy, and I said, can you do this? And he said, yeah. So we put it together. So while they're in the room, they put the app on their phone. Actually, now they have to have the app before they come, unless back here these mountains, all they got is a flip phone or a land phone. But that's how we came about with that. So that part of the brain is called the limbic system. And it's made up of, I told you about the amygdala, I told you about the hypothalamus, the pituitary, but there's also a gland called the hippocampus, and that's the one that takes care of the memories. And so what we can do with that is memories are placed in the brain depending on how much we activate them. So if we're thinking about them all the time, they stay right up front. But if it's something that we put back in the back, like trying to remember who your first grade elementary school teacher was, may be easy for some people because that was a traumatic experience going to the first grade. But on the other hand, there may be things that you've done that you don't remember, and sometimes they'll pop up because something happens. Like you may be driving down the road and your favorite song from the 60s comes on, or some of you are not quite that old, from the 90s comes on, and all of a sudden it brings back the memories of high school, the dance, baseball, whatever. So that's the part of that brain in hypnosis. By the subconscious mind moving aside, that part of the brain is listening. But it's always listening. That's why self-talk is so important. What we say to ourselves is going to that part of the brain, and it's creating our character and our attitude. Any questions about that?
Is there a link that one can get to that? Yes?
What?
To hear it?
That information or that?
The sound, what you're talking about will be available ultimately.
It's available now. You can go to anybody that's on my newsletter has already gotten it, which means you should have gotten it also, Ellison. But it's on my website. You just go to my health, go to healthyvisions.com/healthy, or if you've got an iPhone, just go to iTunes and put in My Healthy Affirmation, and a droid Google, just go and put in My Healthy Affirmation, and you can download it. It's on iTunes.
Great.
So you go to my website.
Direction. Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that. I want to review that before we're done, actually. I wanted to ask you if you would share some ideas for the hypnotists that are on the call with what you have found to be, let's say, the most effective way to attract clients to your practice.
Well, let's start with the fact I've tried every way. And I found that most every ways don't work, because we are a business that people don't get attracted to because they see an ad. They have to be thinking about it, somebody's had suggested it. This is hard for a lot of people because we have to deal with the number one fear factor out there, which is public speaking. However, I will speak to any organization anytime about basically what hypnosis is. And if you're on this call, I've taught it through the Guild. You can also pick it up through their store. There's an audio, maybe a video on it, on the steps that I do to do a 20-minute talk, because you don't want to be longer than that unless they tell you they want something longer. But service clubs and civic clubs. Now, I had a person the other day said, what's that? And they wasn't even from Tennessee, so I was surprised. But Aquinas clubs, Optimus clubs, the Rotary Club. Matter of fact, by the way, I just took over this month as president of the Rotary Club, all because I went there and did a talk on hypnosis about 6 years ago. That got me there. I go to the high school psychology classes. Just make sure if you're going to do hypnosis that anybody you're going to hypnotize has got a letter from mama. I also go to the junior college and teach that psychology class. Now, what that does, it puts a live person that they know or will get to know, and they will tell everybody else. Now, I get a call or an email almost every day. I do mean almost every day. Well, I'm going to go to the doctor's offices. I'm going to tell you right now, they are not interested in talking to you. The hospitals are not interested in talking to you. You to them are hocus pocus, you're witchcraft, you're things that do not make them money and that they don't want to take time to do. So don't waste your time there. Putting ads in papers is not going to do it. But a website so they can find you is, because they're going to come looking for you. They're not going to get to you because they just happen to see an ad somewhere. So you've got to have a website, and I'm going to tell you, put your picture and your name on it. I hate going to a hypnotist website and they tell all the things they'll do, and they give you a phone number, but you know nothing else about them. I live about 10 miles, not even that far, from one of the highest concentrations of Ptsd researchers in the United States, maybe the world. I see those people. One of the things that got me one day most was the fact that of all the hypnotists in this area, they chose me for one reason. They didn't know anything about me because I was the only person with my picture and had on a coat and tie. That was the only reason they chose me over everybody else. So the professionalism, having your BCH, you don't see a doctor advertise himself that doesn't say, I'm board certified in pediatrics, I'm board certified in surgery, I'm board certified in gastroenterology. So that BCH is extremely important with your set of credentials. Now, getting up and doing those talks, if you email me, ron@eslinger.com, and that's the way you're going to get it, I will send you that the outline for that talk that I do, because it's an interactive talk. Starts with the vagal breath, which I've been teaching as the relaxation breath for 40 years. Actually, more than that, I was teaching my patients that before I even became a hypnotist. But now I noticed that somebody decided to get out of the stress-releasing breath or the pain-releasing breath and started calling it the vagal breath, which is really what it is. And you can get that information on my blog, on my website, lots of places to find that. I got a lot of free stuff out in my area, and everything goes good. So in the process of doing those talks, there's going to be a bunch of people in that room. They're going to be talking to friends that have pain. So as a part of that talk, I say, and some of the clients that I see have these conditions. They're having trouble taking off pounds, so we show them how to do it. They want to be more comfortable, so we teach them how to do that. Some of them are having problems sleeping, and we teach them how to go through a process to slow their body down so that they can sleep. And I'll say the National Institutes of Health have already done the research that says that hypnosis and relaxation therapy is the most powerful and most effective tool out there for sleep and relaxation. Well, you think, and then I have some cards. I don't take brochures. I don't try to sell anything. And I'll say, if anybody wants my card after we're done, I'll hang around and talk to you, and I'll give you my card. It's that simple. And it works. And we stay booked up at 3 months.
Right. There's a lot of talk in hypnosis about scripts, right? So how do you know what to say to a client for pain or any other problem?
I let them tell me what to tell them. And I'll tell you what I start with. I start with a thing I got from the National Guild of Hypnosis basic course, and it's called the Basic. They write down those questions, and then I look at what they write down, and I feed that back to them. So whatever they say, I do a 180. It's called the Ron Eslinger 180 model. And I also will then ask them, here's how I start. If those of you out there got a sheet of paper, this you do want to write down. After I've gotten that information, they give me a little history, and I don't let them use the word pain, and I don't let them victimize themselves. I keep them focused, and sometimes I'm rude with them to do that. I have had people walk out of my office because I made them angry. I try not to do that too often. But the thing that I want to make sure that I understand is, and that they understand is, there's a part of their brain that listens. Now, we've talked about that. So I take the basic and I look at what they're doing, what's worked, what takes care of them. Here's an example that I use, and here's what this person says. She's got tics, and the tics are in her face and they hurt. So now I know that's her issue. Now, if it's for weight, they may say that they're fat. That's their problem. Well, that's not true, because fat's not the problem. Overeating and under-exercising is the problem. So you look at the problem and make sure you got the right problem first. And then I ask them what they're doing now, because if they're doing something now that helps, I'm going to expand upon that in their session. So if they say yoga helps, I'll ask them, why do you think that helps? Well, if it's fibromyalgia, you know it's because they're stretching those muscles out. And it's probably because they're stressed and all those muscles are tensioned up. If you can get people to loosen their muscles, anything from childbirth to back pain to fibromyalgia to complex fetal pain syndrome, they are going to get somewhat better. She says yoga she does is, she takes magnesium for her muscles and other medications, and she said none of those medications helped, but the yoga did. I asked her, what are the emotions? Well, I feel embarrassed, I feel frustrated. Well, think about the thoughts that go through your mind when you're embarrassed about it. So she don't want to go out, she won't go around people, she won't go out in public. So one of the things I'm thinking about then, one of the suggestions is going to be, I wonder if you'd mind imagining yourself. And now that word imagination is terribly important, because that's the title of one of my books, Hypnosis, Putting the Imagination to Work. Your clients have already done that. Unfortunately, they did it in a negative way. So we want to get them into reimagining things that they see. There's actually even a program out there called Criminal Minds, and in their trailer it says, nothing happens until it happens in the imagination first. Here's what you're going to find out, that most of your clients that have major bad problems are that way because they're highly hypnotizable, which means they also can be the easiest to fix, so don't be afraid of them. Also, don't be afraid if you can't get them deep into hypnosis, because all hypnosis takes is two things. One, a willingness to accept the suggestion from the client, and two, I done forgot what that was, but it'll come back to me here in a minute. Oh, repetition. So if they don't go deep into hypnosis, you just have to do it over and over and over. That's why I've always sent them home with CDs. I've always sent them home with that book, the QA, my method book, which I reprinted and reproduced and re-put a new information in it. And now it will be coming out for the NGH conference in audio also. So those are the things I make sure they go home and they use them over and over and over and over again. Then I have them to describe, well, what does frustration mean to you? So whatever frustration is, we're going to go to the other side. And because, I wonder how surprised you'll be when you begin to notice that today you felt better than you did yesterday. And tomorrow you probably feel better than you do today, but that's only because you have to make a choice to do that. Everything I do is a choice. I never give direct suggestions, I give them choices. So, the other question is, what physical symptoms do you have? Well, I feel pain, it burns, it's sharp. So if it's sharp, what would be the opposite? A soothing dullness, a calm, spongy feeling. Anything like that can make it do really well. If it's burning, you cool it off. And then another question, how do I imagine myself? She said, I feel unattractive, I feel strange. What does strange feel like? I don't know what it feels like to her, so she has to describe it. And also, why? What is it about having this tic? Because keep in mind, it don't just hurt, but a tic means her lip keeps popping up. It keeps jumping. So she's embarrassed to be around people. Well, you know, if you're a nurse, you could wear that mask and you'd do fine. So her last comment on this, what are your thoughts? And her thoughts were, I wish I could stop. So now, wishing you could stop means you had to be thinking about what you're doing. So I would take that suggestion and I would say something like, isn't it amazing how comfortable you become when you quit thinking about that situation and remembered how you felt before it started? And I've already asked, when did you first notice this? And I'll go back 6 months to a year before. I would like for you to go back to that time when you had fun going out with people, when everything about you was comfortable.
Yeah.
I do not spend time trying to find out what's caused it. That's a waste of time for me, and all it does is go back to the lemon experience, or that recreating that memory, which now is going to get worse. I don't go there. I know some people do, and they do well with it. I've just never had the need. So then I asked 4 questions, and I want you to answer this question for why you're on this call. Number 1, what do you expect to happen in this office today? Number 2, what is your goal? And I ask a goal because you got to make sure it's a realistic and a believable goal. Number 3, what are your hobbies? Now, I've already asked that once on the intake sheet. I'm asking it. But most people in today's world don't know what a hobby is. So I say, what are the activities you enjoy doing? And then I ask this question. Of the ones you enjoy doing, how many can you still do? Then if they only give me a very small list of what they've enjoyed in the past, I'll go, now which ones would you like to enjoy doing again? Then I'm going to start painting a picture of that one. Now here's the most important one, the last one. What do you do to relax? And if they don't tell me right away, I mean in a split second, I'll say, do you like the beach? Coming from where I come from, you can drive southeast, east, or southwest, and you can be in the Gulf of Mexico within 6 to 8 hours, or you can be in the Atlantic Ocean all up and down the seaboard in 6 to 8 hours. So I like to go to the beach because there's tons of metaphors that you can use there. And those are things that you need to learn how to create scripts out of things that people tell you. So I use that now around here too. A lot of people live on lakes. You can't drive 30 minutes and there's not a lake or a big river with people living on it. So that might be their happy place, or the place they really can get into a meditative state. So I use that then to start painting what I'm going to say to them, bringing back what they said in the basic. And I practice daily. I read daily on how to create suggestions on what to say to clients. And Sue's out there, and Sue knows that I use out of the big red book some introductory phrases that makes me doing good. Now, the big red book is the, what is his name? What is it, Sue? Do you remember? Yeah, he's a psychologist. Hold on a minute, it's right here on my bookshelf. It's called Corey Hammond. And it's called A Handbook of Hypnosis Suggestions and Metaphors. I had a lady call me one time, and she had to drive a long ways. I was still in the Navy, because she had a thing called blepharoplasty. In other words, she couldn't keep her eyes open. They stayed closed, and they blinked painfully. She had had Botox, she had had all kinds of other therapies, and was getting ready to have all the muscles scraped away from her eyelids. And she was 62 years old. They had just retired. And she called me, asked about seeing me, because she had heard about me. I'd already left the Naval Medical Center Portsmouth. I was now the Director of Patient Service at Beaufort Naval Hospital. And I said, I have no idea if hypnosis works for that or not. Now, today I would have said, of course hypnosis will work for that. But I said, let me do some research. So I went and found, I had this book. And I opened it up, and there was one paragraph. I think that paragraph has like 12 words in it, and it said, hypnosis has been found to be beneficial for blepharospasm. That's all it said. It didn't tell me how, it didn't tell me what they did, so I got to make it up. So that's the thing, if you're on the other side of this line, you have got to learn how to write, how to think, how to use everything you see in everyday life to make it into a script. That is a game with me. When I drive, I look for phrases to scripts. In church, I look for phrases for scripts. I go through books. I look at songs. But I called her back. She came down, and I'll tell you what, that was the hardest part. I had no idea what I was doing. So how do you say now? Just close your eyes and relax. There's somebody there to get their eyes open. So that was my first problem. So she went home that day, and I figured it was a waste of time. I just used, now here's some of the suggestions I gave. Your eyelids are like blinds, open and close, open and close. You can open and close whatever rate you want to. Your eyelids are like car lights. You can turn them on, you can turn them off. Lights in your room, you can turn them on. Anything that was on and off, had to do with blinking. I felt like she didn't do good at all. I would have called it a total failure. And I was supposed to see her the next morning because they'd have to drive 6 hours to get there. This was Friday night that I saw her. So Saturday morning I go in not expecting her to show up, and there she was. And the first thing out of her mouth was this. This is the first time in 6 years I've been able to put my makeup on with my eyes open. Now that was impressive to me. So those are the things, if you're not afraid to just go the opposite of what they say their problem is, and create metaphors and stories. I tell a lot of stories. How about this? I have people like this woman that says she was unattractive. And so I said, you know, when I was in high school, there was a song out there by Ray Stevens. And that song was, everything's beautiful in its own way. And I made that a game. And I really did. I made that a game. Looking at the ugliest women in that little old town I worked at and tried to figure out something pretty about them. And then I started looking at other things. So what would be beautiful about that? And so I use that. And then the other thing I do is I use a statement. If you've ever flown on a plane, you know that one of the first things the flight attendant does after that door closes says, if that oxygen mask falls out of the ceiling, put yours on first before you try to help somebody else. Most people that you see are always putting somebody else first. They're not taking care of themselves. So what we're doing is giving them the opportunity and the excuse to do that. And I also say this to every pain patient. This is worth writing down. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is not condoning what somebody does, but forgiveness is taking the pain out of the memory. Because you're not going to forget it, but if you take the pain out of that memory, you're also then taking the pain out of the memories of what caused Ptsd, what incident caused you to have the pain that you've got now. So I have rambled and I am sorry, so I'm going to stop there and say, does anybody have any questions? Or Elson, is there something I missed in that comment?
Nothing missed there, but...
Let's do that. I got a letter from that. I got a letter from one about with a tick. And she said, and this was months later, she says, I'm still 98% free, and all the changes that had taken place, it's quite a long letter, but I'm not going into that other than the 98%. I never work at trying to say you'll be pain-free. I just take them to where is their functional level. Because when they get to that, they'll know they can go the rest of the way, but there's always a reward, secondary gain. I don't look for it, but I'll tell them that they probably got it and they can if they want to, and every once in a while I'll do a tapping technique from a Freeburg book, and usually that will bring back the memory of what it was. Okay, I'm shutting up now and letting you talk. Sorry.
No, that's beautiful. I want to ask what is the vagal breath and why is that important?
Well, the vagal breath is important is because it's like a singer's breath. When you, and the way I teach people to do it is put their hand on their stomach, because you try to tell them to take a breath and push your stomach out, it's like hard. I don't even say take a breath. I say, what I'd like you to do now, I'd like you to put your hand on your stomach and then go ahead and use your stomach to push your hand forward. And they'll do it, and I say, now did you notice you took a breath? And they're always surprised that they did. I say, well, let me tell you about that breath. When you dropped your diaphragm by pushing your stomach forward, that created a vacuum. That vacuum sucked in oxygen and air. The two lower lobes of your lungs have a lot more blood vessels and alveolar air sacs. So more oxygen, which is healing and relaxing and necessary for life, gets out to the individual cells of your body. And when it does that, that's going to make you heal faster and increase your immune system. But the other thing that diaphragm does when it drops, it tugs on the vagus nerve. And when it tugs on the vagus nerve, it activates the release in the brain of endorphins. That's your morphine, serotonin, your Prozac, melatonin, your sleep aid, your Ambien. So therefore, they're automatically going to feel better in 3 different ways, because those 3 hormones have 2 other names: the stress-relieving hormones and the pain-relieving hormones. So we actually have some control of those. So I make sure I teach that. No matter where I go talk, I start off with teaching that breath and tell them why it's important, and say, if you ever feel like you're getting a headache, take that breath, and the chances are more than 90% that headache will go away before it gets started. If you'll do that about 5 times at night when you're having trouble going to sleep, and focus on, I am asleep, you'll find out that you actually fall asleep, and that will be a very wonderful evening for you. So I tell them when they push their stomach out to hold that breath for a moment, because you want to get a good gas exchange from the CO2 coming out, the toxin, and the O2 going in. And that breath, I used to count it, but it's hard to do that. So I just say, go ahead and push your stomach out, hold it for a moment, and now let it out. A natural breath is twice as long coming out as it is going in. That's how we normally breathe, because one is second in, the other you're just relaxing your body and letting it out. Does that help?
It sure does. Thank you. In your class, you talk about a Harvard University experiment that was, if I remember correctly, as effective. I remember you talking about this as morphine for some pain.
That's what they say. That's what Harvard said.
Okay.
Actually, I got that out of the book, Your Relaxation Response by Herb Benson. And all it is mindfully eating a raisin. Now, here's the key to this. I read that. They didn't say how to do it, so I had to make it up. I made up my own way to eat that raisin. I even started out by saying, and I have actually created a script, because so many people after we did said, well, do you have a script for that? And I said, why? All you're doing is tell them to eat a raisin. And then you throw in some stuff like the sun on that. It was a grape before it became a raisin. And as a grape, it took in energy from the sun, and it took in nourishment from Mother Earth, and then it created this protective shell around itself, this peel, so that it now, instead of being something of a limited lifespan, it has a indefinite lifespan. So as you put that raisin in your mouth and you don't chew into it yet, feel what it feels like, the softness, the texture. Is it hard? Is it soft? Is your mouth starting to change? And then as I am to chew and swallow, it said, now you and the raisin are one, and that raisin has the same effects on your body, the same type of enzymes that morphine has, so you should start really feeling better already. Now for my smokers, I tell them it also does the dopamine release, so you can buy a box of raisins just a little bit smaller than a pack of cigarettes. So I say when you have the urge to have a cigarette, if you do, you may not, just go ahead and very slowly eat one of these raisins and think of all the benefits of being free of tobacco now.
Interesting.
That's why reading is important. I would have never known that if I hadn't picked up that book about the relaxation response. Great.
You were talking about, and I remember hearing about the application you've made for, let's call it mindful business or mindfulness meditation, I think, that you've developed for your clients. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's actually very simple. All you do is every how you want to get it. You can go to my website and get it. We do it that way because then I get somebody's email, and then I could tell them more stuff that we've got. And we give out a lot of free stuff. You can go to iTunes or you can go to Google, Google Play, and you can put in My Healthy Affirmation. That's the name of it. You go to my website because you want more stuff or you're going to get some free stuff. It's just go to healthyvisions.com/healthy. and that'll take you to a page, and you can click on Google, or you can click on Apple. So you get it, then it just takes you to where to download them, and you download them. Then it's got the instructions on how to use it, but you really don't need them, because once you put it on your phone, it says, let me bring mine up here real quick, it says, I got one running already. Let me go home with it. It says instructions, so you can read the instructions. It says healthy visions, affirmations at the top. My healthy affirmations at the top. Then it says record. So if you push record, then when you get on record, the first one's free, and it just says health, and it says free. And then it gives you 6 things you can say. The first thing that has on it of the sets is every day in every way I am better and better. So I kept that one in there. Number 2 is, this is my favorite, I am healthy, I am wealthy, and I am wise. Now in the instructions it says, an old Chinese proverb. Basically, you have to use your imagination. So what does every day in every way I'm getting better and better look like? What does I am healthy, wealthy, and wise look like? Because the picture is worth 1,000 words. So you've got the words you're saying to yourself, and then all you have to do is listen. So if I hit record, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise. I hit stop. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise. So that comes back, and then I hit next. And for the free one, you only get 1 piece of music, and here it is. Now, when you buy them all, you can either skip to the next ones, or you can hit save. So if I hit save, now it's got to take a few seconds to get it all up, and it shows up now in your list, and you can make as many as you want. So here's what happened once I got it done. I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise. And you can set it for 15 minutes, you can set it for 25 minutes, 60 minutes, or just loop it and let it just stop whenever you want it to. When you're done, hit home, go home, then go exit. That's how simple it is.
Great.
I listen to it twice a day, and sometimes 3 times at lunch if everybody's aggravating me. But it works really good with headphones.
Perfect. That is such a I'm going to call it such a great invention for all of us. So I want to go to another topic, which is, I think, topic of, let's say, depth of hypnosis when working with paying clients, and how important is depth hypnosis, or for any client for that matter.
I never concern myself with depth unless I'm going to use glove anesthesia. And I used to use that a lot, but I rarely use it anymore because I found out that all I was doing was putting a Band-Aid. And it was always stressful whether or not they were going to go to that point or not. I still use it, and I've learned to use it so that I don't get stressed with it. I know how well they're going to do. The other part of that is I don't care if they're a 1 or a 6 on the Aaron scale. I only need 2 things. Number 1, they have to be willing to accept the suggestion. In other words, they don't have a secondary gain. They don't want to give up if they get better. And then the second part of that is, I've already talked about it, is repetition. They have got to go over and over and over. So that's why that little short affirmation is good. There's also on there, they can make their own affirmations. So they don't have to read the ones that are there. They can create their own. The reason we did the ones we do is because when I would have my clients in here create their own affirmation, they always renege. I don't smoke. I don't hurt anymore. So what we did is we put them on so they were positive, and then if they want to create their own, we will help them go read the others so you at least know how to put it into the language of healing, which is a positive language. So I just, I do a lot of wake hypnosis. So if I ask somebody, the beach, what is your favorite beach? They'll tell me. And then I say, close your eyes. Oh, also, let me back up. Just say, when I do that breath with them, after I'm done, I say, now you just experienced hypnosis. When I do the magnetic fingers to find out if they're resistant or not, I tell them you just experienced hypnosis. When I do the lemon experience, I tell them you just experienced hypnosis like you'll experience it again in a little while. So I've already told them what hypnosis is going to be. So then when I have them, I always have them take a breath before I have them do anything after I've taught that. So I say, now take a breath. Now I want you to describe that beach and tell me why that is your favorite beach. What is it about that beach that you like? What colors do you see? What else is around? So tell me everything about that beach, because all I'm going to do is take some notes, and when I put her into hypnosis, I'm taking her back to that beach. Oh, and I say, while you're there, I want you to see yourself on that beach when you were very comfortable, very happy. And you have to be a little careful about regression and taking them to a happy place. If they go to a happy place, sometimes they're happy there because they're with family. And I've had this happen. One of the family members has died since then, so you start seeing tears. So you need to know, are those happy tears or sad tears? Mm-hmm. One of them I did in a group, it was so interesting. Afterwards, she says, this is the first time I finally got closure tonight. So you never know what the secondary benefit's going to be of the things that you do also. So does that make sense? The thing about it is I don't worry about it, because if I worry about it, they can feel my attention. Right. I do a lot of conversational hypnosis, like describe that to me, describe this to me, close your eyes and tell me what this would be like, what this would look like. And then in hypnosis, I'm ready to go with them. And if they flutter their eyes when I'm doing any of this talking, I say, wow, you just entered hypnosis. I notice your eyes are fluttering, and that's one of the signs that you're going to have a good state of hypnosis. I do a lot of hypnosis before I say, take your breath, and I start.
Got it. Let me ask, do you use regression in your pain practice?
Well, you can't do pain practice without regression. Anytime you say go back to a memory, you just regressed him. I do not do revivification on purpose. I do memory regression, not revivification. I do have one technique I use, which is a little long to go into, but I'll just give you a real quick synopsis, where I have them walk back to an age before the age of 5. And I have in 2 parts. Number 1, the adult is their mentor and their coach walking with them as they get younger and younger and younger. When they get to that age, I say, now, I go to a neutral time. Now I want you to walk back to the present time, and everything that ever caused anger, rage, pain, or humiliation, you can let it go in whatever way you choose. You don't even have to tell me about it. And that's what I do.
Excellent. Before I go on a couple more questions, which I want to get to, but before we go there, Gene, let's see if anybody has any questions or any comments while we're at this point.
Okay, I have 2 hands up at this point, so I'm going to bring in Marcia first. Go ahead,
Hello.
Marcia.
Hi.
Hi, Marcia.
Hello.
Hi, Don. Hi, Ron. Thank you for your sharing experience. I just wonder, I heard that this is recorded. Is there any way we can access this later just to revisit, listen to it?
Yes, Gene will tell you how right now. Gene?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Wait a minute, this teleseminar?
Yes.
This teleseminar we're on right now.
Oh, okay.
You can come back to it and listen to it. Go.
Yes, you can. And that would be www.ngh.events/Eslinger 2019. That's www.ngh.events/ESLINGER 2019. And that will take you to the replay page.
Oh,
okay.
Oh. Okay, so I didn't write down, but just,
if you email me, I'll see that you get.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Ron.
I said, if you email me, I will see that you get that. And I'm just real simple, ron@eslinger.net.
Thank you. I will do that. Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
You bet. Super. Okay.
I do have a...
Yep. Now I'm going to bring in Sue.
Hi there.
Hello, Sue.
Hello. A couple of comments. I don't know who's on the call who might be thinking about taking this pain certification program, but I highly encourage it. I took it from Ron a long time ago, and I just signed up. I'm retaking it because I see all this information that I've not seen before, and you could always learn something new. I've done a lot with pain, but lately I have done not much, and I suddenly realized I need some more motivation, and this is going to be it. And
wonderful.
One thing that I have, if people want it, I have a fabulous handout that I created with a friend of mine, and it's called What I Can't Control, and in the middle is a big circle with what I can control, and at the bottom is a challenge for 90 days. See what you will experience. No complaining, no criticizing, no condemning. And I taught a pain class a number of years ago, and I gave them the homework assignment of just no complaining for a week. Mm-hmm. And of course they all groaned, but when they came back, they all had a decrease in their pain level just from not complaining. So I'm very much on helping people change their belief system, get rid of the fear, change the belief system, and help them become empowered. And that's basically for everything that we do, but definitely for the pain. And if I could just share one little story.
Yeah.
I had to take a friend of mine to the ER, and it was on a Saturday. This happened a number of months ago. And she was the only one there, so they took her in, and I'm sitting there, and this mother walks in with her teenage daughter, and the daughter's just walking around. She's in pain. She's crying. She can't sit still. And I thought, I'm going to try this. So I said to the mom, look, I have something that may help relax her. Do you want me to try? She said, anything. So the girl comes over and sits down, and I tell her, I said, would you like to help relax yourself a little bit? Anything, she says. Why are you here? She had a huge second-degree burn on the side of her foot. The whole side of her foot was covered. So she was terrified. There was no question about it. I said, so first of all, tell me where your favorite place is. And I couldn't have asked for this if I tried. She says, my swimming pool. I said, oh, God, this is perfect. So I just quickly did a quick induction, and I had her put both her feet in her swimming pool. And then, of course, by the time we got to do that, they called her. She came out of it, and she went. And I said, now, anytime you start to feel discomfort, put your feet in the water. And she did exactly that. And when she came back around the corner, she was smiling, and she gave me thumbs up as she walked by. It worked like a charm. So, but we can always learn more, and I highly encourage this certification. I'm really looking forward to it. So, that's it.
Looking forward to seeing you there. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Sue. I'd like to add, for the ones that will actually be in the class, the materials that I give out, you will also receive, as a part of that class, about 23 videos that you'll have access to. You'll receive thousands of scripts and articles and books that will be available to you online, and you'll have access to those, and that access is permanent. You don't lose it. At least I hope you don't. I hope somebody keeps it going when I'm gone. So that is a major part of the class, and all the stuff that I give out during the class, the 2 books, all the PowerPoints, and then the first 4 sessions, and then what to do on the 5th session is also in writing, and you'll have it at the class. And since Sue brought up kids, I'm also doing a class on pediatrics, because my first job as a nurse was a pediatric nurse, and I'd already started doing hypnosis. So guess what? You can come to that class also. Anybody else got a question, Gene, or are we done?
No, we got, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Nice there. And Ron, and I think you just began doing, here's what's going to be included in the class, and you just added some of the special items and the materials they're going to get to take home. Take us through you know where I'm going. Let's do a quick looking ahead at those who come to the pain management certification, what they are looking forward to experiencing with you.
A very informative. They're going to be learning how to be professional hypnotists in pain management. They're going to learn how to not be afraid. They're going to learn a lot of techniques, and they're going to take home probably $5,000 to $10,000 worth of materials that I've collected over the years. And that Dr. Durbin, he gave me everything he had about a year before he died, and told me to do with it what I wanted to. So everybody that I teach, I give it to them, and it's 2 gigabytes of unbelievable amounts of even books that he scanned. Unbelievable. So they'll get that, but the main thing is they're going to learn how to not be afraid and how to keep clients from having sabotage. Most clients sabotage themselves. That's why they don't do well. The last thing I'll leave them with is I teach why I never let a weekend go between my first and second patient, and that I do have about 4 times a year. I have a client that comes and spends a full week with me. I see them all day, every day for a week, and we'll talk a little bit about why I do that and what I use that for. And then all the other things in the community. I specialize in hypnosis, but I don't. I'm a general hypnotist. Because if you have somebody that's coming for surgery, they probably got pain. If you have somebody coming from pain, they're probably going to have surgery. I've had people that were going to have babies but had to lose weight because they wanted to have childbirth at home. So there is no linear road of going down one way. So what I want to help teach is how you can take a basic hypnosis practice and you can work on anything out there if you're willing to learn how to use your own brain to think.
Nice.
And that's all I got to say about it.
That's pretty good. And in fact, it's outstanding. Gene, share with everybody how they are going to be able to get the 2 continuing education hours and whatever the other link shows us as well.
Okay. Everybody who's on the phone, you'll need to go to this website, www.ngh.events/Eslinger, CEH2019. That's www.ngh.events/ESLINGER, CEH2017. That'll take you to the survey page. Those of you that are on the internet, there's a link there that you can click that will take you to the same page. Awesome.
Yeah. And thanks for all of you who've been on the call tonight. Consider, if you've not already taken the pain management certification, you absolutely, seriously want to consider it. It's going to be Wednesday and Thursday, August 7 and 8. And the tuition is $375, and it will be one of the most enjoyable and I'd say knowledgeable programs you'll have probably ever had and may ever have. You don't want to miss it. Ron, how would you?
One last statement that you say off. Pain management is a $100 billion business. We need to get our share because we can do as good as anybody else out there.
If not better. So true.
If not.
Thank you, Ron Eslinger, so much for being with us this evening. And thanks to all of you who joined us for this teleseminar as well. And pay attention to the fact, and Ron has sent these notices out to all the memberships as well. We have a few more teleseminars coming along, all regarding the MGH convention. Join us for the others as well. Thanks, everyone. Good to have you with us. And come to the next. Night for now.
Thank you, Elsa. Gene.
Every day in every way I am better and better. Every day in every way I am better and better. Every day in every way I am better and better. Every day in every way I am better and better.